Okay, g'day everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. We'll just do a quick sound check if we can, thanks, before we get going. Can I get it loud and clear, please? Okay, g'day everybody. Alright, sounds like I'm coming through okay, not much lag. Hope everyone is well. Welcome to anyone that's new as well. G'day VJ, Jean, PDF, Dom, Dave, West. Okay. Rick, Perlin, Craig. Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, let's jump in, everybody. So, welcome to Traders Workshop on a Wednesday. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone's trading is going okay so far this week. Let's jump straight in, will we? Now, with the workshops as well, I've got quite a bit to get through. So, I will save the questions till the end if that's okay. And then we can address those at the end, so I can keep a bit of a continual motion through it. So let's jump in. G'day Morpheus, Heinrich. All right, let's have a look. So welcome to Traders Workshop. So the topic for today is top trading tips, part 1. So there's a whole heap of trading tips that I'd like to get through, but I want to be able to do these justice, so I'm going to split it up into various parts, but I won't do them one after another because it may get a bit monotonous for some, although it shouldn't. But we'll try and break it up with a bit of, technical analysis and a few other things. So just keep your eye out for these, and just keep your eye out for the emails or the have a look for the topics in the alerts. So, all right, let's begin. So let's have a look. G'day, Rashid. All right, so one of the top trading tips, you've probably all heard this one before, the market pays us to be disciplined. So if there's one constant truth in the market, this is it. So the market pays us to be disciplined. Now, most people, or most traders, they think that this means the following. So let's have a look. So most people think that it's discipline to wait for the right setups. Yes, that's true, and that's all important. Discipline to step up and place the trade. In other words, no hesitation, so we need to be disciplined there. Discipline to cut our losers short. And discipline to let our profits run. So they're all good points, and there's certainly virtue in all of those, but I don't believe that's enough. Okay, those of you that have gone through the Trading Academy and listened to listen to previous workshops will know that trading takes in the whole gamut of psychology, strategy, the whole lot, and discipline is one of those important parts. Now, there's a good quote here from Theodore Roosevelt that says that with self-discipline, most anything is possible. So that's Theodore Roosevelt. So that's a good one. Now, discipline takes many forms. So let's have a look at some of these. So the very first thing is discipline is required to take trading serious using a structured business-like approach. How many treat trading like a business? How many have a trading business plan? Not a trading plan, a business plan. The discipline to create and follow a daily ritual. So what is it? What is a daily ritual? Daily ritual starts from the moment you wake up to the last thing at night. So how many people, first thing they wake up, how many people visualise themselves being successful trading? Let me ask you that. Thanks, VJ. How many people have a plan throughout the day as to what they do? How many people finish the day with some type of ritual? G'day, Matt. Okay. The discipline to properly prepare pre-session. So before you sit down and trade, do you just come straight from the gym? Do you, yeah, very good, noble line. Do you just come straight from the gym, you turn the computers on, You see a bit of momentum, you jump in. That's what most traders do. How many people have a pre-session checklist that they go through? How many people prepare themselves psychologically before they trade? Right, the discipline to, very good. Now, those of you that are following this, congratulations and well done. Those of you that perhaps don't, we'll have a look at this later. We'll address that later. So the discipline to conduct proper market preparation. How many people assess risk on, risk off? How many people go through and look at the macro? How many people look at the big picture of whatever they're trying to trade? So also the discipline to properly assess the current market structure. So you're a shorter term trader and you trade off the 15-minute charts. That's your entry chart. And you're perhaps a 4-hour, 60 and a 15-minute trader. In other words, your higher time frame is a 4-hour. Your trading time frame is a 60-minute and your entry time frame is a 15-minute. How many people are disciplined enough to properly assess the market structure on each of those time frames? Okay, so this is what needs to be done. So the little picture here says discipline is doing what needs to be done even though you don't want to do it. I was a bit late today and I've just gotten back from, or just come up from my own gym. Just quickly had a shower and I've just sat down. So, but I was disciplined enough to do it. I missed today, but I was disciplined enough to do it at some stage during the day. So it's all part of a routine. So the discipline to properly assess the current opportunities. Are there current opportunities? What's the market doing? Is it in a ranging mode like we've seen the last couple of days? Or is it starting to expand? Volatility is starting to expand. The discipline to evaluate the potential of the current setup according to predetermined rules and guidelines. Do we even look at the risk to reward, the reward to risk? Do we make sure it's acceptable before we even place the trade? Do we evaluate how good this current setup is? Do we even know what to look for in a good setup? Oops. The discipline to wait for the setup to come to you. So how many of us have preempted a trade? Thought we'll just get in a little bit earlier. Get in a little bit earlier and we'll add to it later on once it starts to move. We're trading within the setup, but it hasn't quite confirmed yet. So one of the many forms is waiting for the setup to come to you. Now, if getting in early on let's say a C wave, start of the, believe your C wave is finishing, getting in before the move starts, if that's part of your plan, that's a little different because you're still waiting for your setup. The discipline to enter the trade at the right time. So when the trade sets up, are we fooling around with trying to confirm, looking at the higher time frame? Have we already done that work? So now we're just waiting. Now we're just stalking this opportunity, waiting for the right time. Have we placed a buy stop or a buy limit? Or are we just going to hit a market order? The discipline to correctly position size the trade. Have we even looked at the size of the position of the trade? Have we even evaluated the stop? Do we even know where our stop is going to be? So if you're using a percentage risk, then you absolutely need to correctly position size your trade. If you're just using a fixed fractional type method where one one lot each trade, then okay, that's a little bit differently. You know. But if you're using a 2 or 3% risk or 1% risk per trade, you need to have done your work beforehand. So you need to be disciplined to do that. So Bruce Lee here says, knowing is not enough. So we can know all these things, but we must apply. And he also says here, willing is not enough. We must do. So trading discipline takes many forms, once again. So the discipline to close all or part of the trade if there is strength against our position. So how many of us just let it hit the stop? Or do we evaluate how the trade is performing and we think this premise perhaps doesn't look any good, there's strength against the position, I'm getting out of a quarter of my position early. How many of us have the discipline to do that? So the discipline to close the trade early if the premise no longer exists. So if we're trading a setup, it's triggered, but then it pulls back into or drifts back into the base. Is the premise still there? If it's not, and there's a bit of strength against the position, and it no longer looks like our setup is valid, how many of us have the discipline to close out early? On the flip side, the discipline to allow the trade to breathe and not micromanage the trade. Okay, so we need discipline to allow the trade to breathe and not micromanage the trade. That in itself is probably a slide or 2 slides. So do we keep watching the trade? We've taken the trade on a 4-hour chart. Do we keep watching it every 15 minutes? Are we allowing it to breathe? Or are we living and dying on each tick? Are we closing part of it out with each minor move against it because we're watching it on a 5-minute chart? That's what this means. This means the discipline to follow the trade, allow the trade to breathe on our selected trading time frame chart. It could be a 5-minute chart, it could be a 15-minute chart, it could be a 4-hour chart, it could be a daily chart. So Brian Tracy here says 9 rules of self-discipline. Clear thinking, daily goal setting, daily time management, courage, excellent health patterns, regular saving and investing, hard work, continuous learning, persistence. See the common traits. Okay, let's move on. All right. Trading takes many forms. Trading discipline takes many forms. The discipline to take what the market gives us. So pay yourself as the market makes it available. Mark Douglas. So are we going for 5 to 1? And yet we've got 2 to 1 on the table. The market is going against us hard. Are we going to take what the market gives us? Or are we going to be stubborn and hang on and let it hit our stop? So do we have the discipline to take what the market gives us? Do we have the discipline to assess our state intra-session? This probably applies more to short-term trading. Do we have the discipline when we're going through our trading times, when we're in our trading time slot, and we're in our trading session? Our session might be an hour and a half or 2 hours, and we may be an hour into it or 3/4 of an hour into our session. Do we just keep pushing on and on and on? Do we find we're losing focus, but we just keep pushing through? We think that we just need to push through. Or do we have the discipline to say, you know what, I'm feeling a bit tired, I'm not reading the market properly, I need to go and grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. I need to take a bit of a break. Do we have the discipline to assess ourselves? That comes from habits as well. Do we have the discipline to journal the trade and or the trading session? So at the end of the session, do we just forget about it and move on? Or do we write down the trade? Do we take a copy of the chart? Do we make notes on the chart? Or if we're a scalper, do we take a copy of the session and make notes? Are we disciplined enough to do this? All right, and here's a good one of Arnie. Arnold says, trust yourself. Break some rules. Okay, I'm not sure about that one. Don't be afraid to fail. Ignore the naysayers. Work like hell. Here's a good one. Give something back to the community. All right, do you think Arnie was disciplined? Or do you think he had a bit of a meltdown every couple of weeks and stuffed his face with hamburgers and chocolate? Of course not. Arnie had a goal. He was disciplined enough to follow it. Disciplined enough to stick to a routine. Look, love him or hate him, you've got to admire what he's achieved. He's been disciplined in what he wanted to achieve. So, do we have the discipline to journal the session and or trade from a process management perspective? How did we do? How did we do in following our processes? Did we follow them to the letter, or were there a couple of slip-ups? Have we journaled this? The discipline to journal the session and or the trade from a state management perspective. In other words, how was our psychology during the trade? Now, those of you that trade short term or have tried to trade short term, you'll absolutely know the importance of state management. So, have we been disciplined enough to journal what we're doing? To write down how we're feeling, write down our emotions. Some people think that this is just all touchy-feely. This is all just hoo-ha. It's all just, I don't need that. Well, I can absolutely tell you, those are the people that say that, number one, aren't successful and seriously probably haven't, and secondly, haven't traded seriously or with big money. Do we have the discipline to review the journal entries using the trade review improve feedback loop? I spoke about this in the Trading Academy. We make the trade. We journal the trade. We journal ourselves. Do we review it? Do we put in a plan to improve? This is the loop. Trade, review, improve. This is the feedback loop that I talk about. Okay? So do we then have the discipline to set goals from the feedback loop? Or do we keep making the same mistakes over and over and over? Well, the definition of insanity, isn't it? Doing the same thing over and over again. Okay, so how do we stop that? We set goals. Do we have the discipline to commit to work on continual improvement, both from a process and a state management perspective? In other words, do we have a growth mindset? You hear me talk about, on the weekends, and we've seen Van Tharp say or Brett Steenbarger say a good trader, or you can tell a good trader from what he does outside market hours. Do people use every spare moment they get to work on both their process and state management? Here's a good one. Do we have the discipline to be totally accountable for our actions? Or do we blame everything else? Do we blame the broker? Do we blame the data feed? Do we blame your boss at work? Do we blame the wife or the whoever for distracting you while you're about to place a trade? Do we blame everybody else? Or are we totally accountable for our actions? Because if we're not, we're never making mistakes. Somebody else's fault. It's easy to do this. It's easy to blame somebody else because we don't want to look at ourselves. So, the pursuit of consistent trading performance can be likened to the pursuit of any worthwhile performance endeavour. Those of you that have worked your way through the Trading Academy will know that I've likened trading to any worthwhile performance endeavour. And I gave the examples of Michael Jordan, the basketballer, Tiger Woods, the golfer. So let's replace consistent trading performance with consistent sporting performance. So at the end of the day, discipline is required to achieve mastery in any performance endeavour. And trading mastery is absolutely no different. Those of you that have worked your way through the academy, once again, will know that trading is a journey. Trading can be likened to a 4-year degree. All right. Let's hear from a couple of traders and trading associated people. Here's one from Robert Ray. He continued the work of Charles Dow, famous Dow theory. And he says that no profession requires more hard work, intelligence, patience, and mental discipline than successful speculation. Let's replace speculation with trading. So no profession requires more hard work, intelligence, patience, and mental discipline than successful speculation. Now, I would probably argue about intelligence. And I spoke about this in the Trading Academy, where you don't need to be highly intelligent to trade effectively. Here's one from Jim Cramer. As long as you enjoy investing, trading, you'll be willing to do the homework and stay in the game. Trading is hard. Trading requires continual work. See, here he says here, as long as you enjoy investing. If you don't enjoy trading, probably not much point continuing with it, because you won't survive the hard times. Here's one from Charlie Munger. Warren Buffett's CEO, I think, I think so, of Berkshire Hathaway. So Charlie says, it's waiting that helps you as an investor. And a lot of people just can't stand to wait. So the discipline to wait for the setups. If you didn't get the deferred gratification gene, you've got to work very hard to overcome that. Okay, so I know that's probably pretty heavy, and everybody's probably thinking, well, there's so much to it, Mark. I just didn't realise, or I just don't know. I'm just feeling deflated. Okay, well, I'm here to tell you that you don't need to feel that way. There's hope. There's a way to do it. So where to from here? The very first thing, Learn to forgive yourself. Massively important. Learn to forgive yourself. We're going to make mistakes. We're human. We're going to make mistakes all the time. And just remember that making mistakes is all part of the journey. If we don't make mistakes, how are we going to learn from our mistakes? So when you do make the mistake, forgive yourself. Move on. Right? Okay, it's okay to be disappointed in yourself. Go and have your pity party for half an hour, and then you'll realise how silly that is. I've spoken and laughed about that before. But then you'll realise how silly that is, and then you pull yourself back to reality and you say, right, okay, that's done, I need to move on. We all make mistakes, move on. Number 2, remember, trading is a journey. Enjoy the journey. Trading is a journey. Number 3, slow, steady, incremental, small chunks and goals. One thing at a time. Those things that I mentioned before, there's a whole lot of those things. If you've thought to yourself, I need to do this, pick one thing at a time. One goal, one thing at a time. And work on it, work on it, work on it until it becomes habit. Now, I'm going to add another thing in there. Once you have worked your way through that and you've achieved that goal, make sure you document that, and make sure you, when I say document it, make sure you are able to look back on that, excuse me, make sure you're able to look back on that and see where you've come from, because that's part of the journey, looking back where we've come from and knowing the work that we've put in. Because what that also does is trigger the human emotion called gratitude, right? Which makes us thankful for where we've come from, what we've achieved. So one thing at a time. Slow, steady, incremental, small chunks until they become habit. Slow and steady wins the race. Important. All right. So, I hope that was not too heavy. And I make no apologies for telling it how it is. But that's how a good trader conducts their trading activities with discipline. All right, very good. So I hope that's what you thought it would be, and not something boring. Trading is a worthwhile endeavour, but it takes time. It absolutely takes time. Thank you, Arabelle. Thanks, Dave. Any questions on any of those? Absolutely, Perlin. Very good. Perlin has said, very good information, Mark. We all need this repeated. Some of you have seen my daily journal. I've shown you my journal. See you, Rick. Thanks for your company. Craig. So if you're serious about trading, start to implement some of those things. Right? If you want to shortcut the process and you want somebody to help you with that sort of putting those things together, well, Maybe private mentoring might be for you also. It's not a pitch. I'm just saying. Okay. So this is recorded, so you can go back and watch this. You're welcome, Graphics. VJ, Gene, you're welcome. Now, Interim Investor has said, but how to stay disciplined is the tough part. So I've given you an outline as to what discipline is. Each one of those things, there's a strategy to it. So maybe in the future we can break each one of those up, okay? You know the way that I do things. I don't do things by halves. So maybe we can break some of those up into another workshop where I'll tell you how I teach people to be disciplined in each of those areas. And there's a specific way. It's not just, I'm not going to do this. Willpower alone, I'll tell you right now, willpower alone is not enough. You must have a plan. Okay? So PDF PDF 84 has said, not just writing things down and forget, but actually do it is the trick. Absolutely. All right? With anything worthwhile. Look at any sporting endeavour that you've taken on. We've learned from our mistakes. Liken trading to anything worthwhile. When you played cricket or football, you didn't just walk out there and instantly be good at it. You're welcome, Ian, Mike. And Mike said, I find the shorter time frame tends to make me less disciplined. Yeah, it does. Shorter time frame, everything happens fast, everything is triggered fast. Our emotions start to ramp up very quickly. Yeah, Wizard, you're welcome. Trader 112, you're welcome. So just work on one thing at a time. As I said before, let's take the martial arts. Practice the same move over and over. Now, I've forgotten who said it. I think it might have been Bruce Lee that said it. I'm more afraid of the athlete that can do that's done one thing 1,000 times than 1,000 things once, because he's practiced that one thing. So the student stretches first, or the martial arts student stretches first. He warms up. He's going through his process. It's the same thing with trading. And obviously there's a bit more to it. But I hope that's given us a bit of an outline, and I hope that you've, even if you take one or two things away, then it's been worth it. Okay, everybody. Thank you for your company, and I'll see you for the next workshop next Wednesday, hopefully. And in the meantime, remain disciplined. You hear me say that at the end of each stream. Remain disciplined. Okay, everybody. Thanks for your company. Talk to you next time.